What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Erika Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's annual Kuang Exercises, which simulate an attack by China, are taking in lessons from Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
穿着俄乌战争的启示，那国军会持续的来精进不对称作战、认知作战、支电作战，还有提升后备战力与全民总力的运用。
This year's war games will feature two parts, a tabletop simulation in May, followed by 5 days of live fire drills in July. The exercises will focus on attacking the enemy at sea, preserving combat forces, and mobilizing the population. Looking at the war in Ukraine, Taiwan has taken note of the key role civil defense can play in resisting an invasion. China's military has condemned the United States after one of its warships sailed through the Taiwan Strait, saying such missions deliberately harm peace and stability. The destroyer's transit comes as the U.S. prepares to give details about its China strategy. Ryan Hilka-Patrick reports.
Demonstrating Washington's commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. That's why the destroyer USS Sampson sailed through the Taiwan Strait yesterday, according to a U.S. Navy statement. It comes 2 months after the last transit of the Strait by an American warship, and as the U.S. prepares to detail a new strategy toward China's growing influence in the region.
First, with regard to the strategy, we very much agree with you. And I will have an opportunity, I think, very soon in the coming weeks to speak publicly and in some detail about the strategy.
U.S. Secretary of State Blinken was responding to a question raised at a Foreign Relations Committee hearing about a new security pact signed between Beijing and the Solomon Islands. The Solomons' Prime Minister has sought to reassure neighbors that the agreement will not mean a base for Chinese warships in the South Pacific. But it has nonetheless prompted a rethink about U.S. involvement in this strategically vital region.
With regard to the Solomon Islands, yes, we share the concern about this agreement. We sent a very high-level delegation to the Solomons just a few days ago. Our lead China expert at the White House, Kurt Campbell, along with the Assistant Secretary for the region, Dan Crittenbrink, led a delegation to the Solomon Islands. I had previously announced some months ago that we intend to open an embassy there that we're moving forward on. We want to have day-in, day-out presence there.
The Biden administration has made the Asia-Pacific one of its top priorities and has vowed to commit more diplomatic and security resources to the region to counter China's rising influence. China has condemned the Sampson's transit as provocative, but the U.S. Navy says it is a routine operation done in accordance with international laws. For Washington, it's also a signal, reminding Beijing that, despite the turmoil in Europe, they remain committed to defending their position in the Indo-Pacific. Ryan Hilka-Patrick for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has stopped using QR codes to trace contacts of people with COVID-19. The system required everyone to scan a code when entering public places like stores and restaurants. Health Minister Chen Shizhong made the announcement on Wednesday.
从今天起，我们取消简讯10连制。但一方面，我们新版的那个社交距离的 APP，这2天就会重新改版完成。那第二个是因为也取消了相对的疫调。 那留的这个实名制只是让大家就更不方便已经没有办法带来实质的效果所以我们就从今天起取消简讯10连制。
The QR code system had attracted global attention as one of the country's high-tech solutions for keeping the pandemic at bay. Scanning a QR code sent a text message to the authorities, and those messages were used to anonymously track people who had been in close contact. Nearly 4.8 billion texts were sent during the 11 months that the system was in use. Starting on Wednesday, you will only need to show that you have downloaded the government's social distancing app to gain entry to public spaces. The app will notify you if you have come in close contact with someone who has tested positive. Taiwan is facing its latest outbreak of COVID-19, and experts say we're far from the peak. The government is now focusing on vaccinating children starting next week. On Wednesday, Taiwan reported nearly 9,000 new domestic cases, yet another record high. As Erika Liu reports, officials are closely watching the numbers to decide whether to tighten restrictions.
Over the past 2 years, much of Taiwan's strategy to battle the spread of COVID-19 has focused on social distancing restrictions, contact tracing, and on vaccination for adults. But for the first time since the pandemic surfaced, the government is putting young children in their sights in their strategy to contain the latest outbreak. Starting next week, kids between the ages of 6 and 11 can get the Moderna jab at half the adult dose. But the initiative is meeting resistance from some parents.
如果可以的话，就是进那个副作用比较没有那么强，然后就是保护力一样有的这样子，会比较好一点啊。对啊，因为莫德纳大人都有点承受不住了，更何况是小朋友。
Doctors say there's no need for parents to be concerned and are trying to allay fears about rare side effects like myocarditis or heart inflammation.
莫德纳的那种，它的那个强度是比较强，所以相对的话，它维持的时间也会比较久。哦，有利就有弊啦。5岁到11岁，他们因为施打这个新冠疫苗而罹患心肌炎的比例，其实是比青少年的族群，像12到17岁，会比他们还低。
Officials are optimistic, though, that the majority of parents would choose to have their children vaccinated.
除掉家长自己带去诊所施打的小朋友的情形，所以可能最后团打的施打率大概会在5到6成之间。
The government believes increased vaccination coverage is one of the keys to Taiwan riding out its latest surge of COVID-19. In recent weeks, new cases have been rising into the quadruple digits. The northern cities of Taipei and New Taipei are especially hard hit and have not ruled out stricter measures to combat the spread.
我会先把医院的医疗量能先控制住，至少不会说有病到医院没有床可以用。必要的话我们还是会软性封城的。
The authorities have warned that the current outbreak has yet to peak. President Tsai Ing-wen, though, offered reassurance during a visit to the Central Epidemic Command Center, saying that the government is taking steps to ensure life continues as normal. A delicate balancing act at a time when much of the public are eager to live a pre-pandemic life and yet are looking to the government to keep them safe in what's being seen as the country's biggest outbreak yet. Patrick Chen and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Touch Taiwan. It's an exhibition featuring the country's latest tech developments, and this year it's taking on the challenges of the pandemic. The 3-day event showcases smart display technology like touchscreens, as well as advances in storing renewable energy. And as Jaime Ocon discovers, visitors can even take a spin in a simulated airplane cockpit.
One of the things that's notable in this event is a focus on the pandemic and the development of future technologies that will help us live with the virus. And that's why this year the event is themed The Future. Now, a major issue since the global outbreak has been the stress put on the aviation industry to deliver goods around the world. Now let me take you to this big bubble machine here. It's a flight simulator, but it's not just any ordinary simulator. It's a Taiwan-specific landing and takeoff simulator, which means that you can pick an airport in Taiwan and start training. The developers will allow pilots in quarantine to train off-site. Flight crews have faced some of the most restrictive quarantine requirements. They are often stuck in a cycle of work and isolation and often face longer than average quarantine periods. This simulator here will make sure that pilots can keep training without having to leave the ground. Due to Taiwan's latest outbreak, there aren't the usual crowds that there have been in previous events. The organizers say that they were hoping for a bigger turnout. Now, the whole point of this exhibition is to display more efficient technologies that will help both people and companies alike. The organizers hope that this will resonate to a wider audience as many people try to overcome the challenges of the pandemic.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with pictures of the opening ceremony for the 20th anniversary of the Penghu International Fireworks Festival. The event featured a light show using a fleet of 500 drones. The festival will have a total of 24 shows running over several weeks. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.